The Love Live School Idol Festival Twitter account just announced that School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live will be ending service on March 31st, 2024, literally a year after the original game shut down. And you also want to know what's funny about this? Well, the English version that is scheduled to come out next month has also announced their end of service date. A game that has yet to be released already has an end date already planned out. I don't know if this is part of their contract, but this is the first time I've ever witnessed a game studio announcing an end of service date for an unreleased game. And boy, the amount of comments and retweets happening on both the English and Japanese accounts, just wow. People are not happy about this, and rightfully so. Personally, I've been playing School Idol Festival for about 10 years. I started on the English version as far back as 2014, and it was the entry point for me to the Love Live franchise, a franchise that is very important to me even to this day. When I heard the original game was shutting down, I was very sad. Imagine pouring all that time and effort, grinding events, scouting, completing challenges, and all that, only for it to disappear just like that. It sucks, and sadly, this is how live service games are. One day it can all disappear and we can never get it back. The only thing we can do is look back at all the memories that we had. Now, School Idol Festival 2 is something I was definitely looking forward to. The problem with the original School Idol Festival is that the game was already becoming outdated. When you look at the other rhythm games in the market, many of those have 3D graphics or live 2D to spice things up. It makes the game look a lot nicer and enjoyable, though they try to answer this by releasing another game called School Idol Festival All-Stars. Personally, I did not like the game, but many people praised it for the story, maybe except for Season 2, and the idol management mechanics. But like I said, the game didn't interest me. It tried to be a hybrid of an RPG and rhythm game, but it just wasn't fun for me, so I dropped the game. The only thing that it had going for it was the 3D MB, but apart from that, there was nothing that could have kept me playing. Also, K-Lab never bothered to introduce Leela in School Idol Festival. I remember when Aqua was first introduced back in 2016, the game received a huge update. They pushed really hard showing the new group, yet in contrast to Love Live Superstar or Leela, when they were first introduced in 2021, we got absolutely nothing for them in the game. No event, no story, no cards, nothing. On top of that, they literally took screenshots from the anime and putting it in the game. Talk about lazy. At that point, I felt the game is just being neglected by K-Lab and Bushiroad. Of course, that day eventually came and the game was scheduled to shut down on March 31st, 2023. While they announced the end of service date, they also announced the sequel, Love Live School Idol Festival 2 Miracle Live. And of course, a year later, the game is shutting down on the same date. Though what could have caused the downfall of School Idol Festival 2, well, it's hard to pinpoint the exact details, but I could give you a couple of reasons why. As someone who has played the game since launch, when the game released in April 15, 2023, the immediate red flag that I saw was seeing how buggy the game was. Sometimes the game would outright crash, or whenever you finish a song, or even just navigating the menu, the game would throw an error code and put you back into the title screen. Then it also had issues with timing where your taps don't register properly. And this was very noticeable when playing the master difficulty with swing notes. It took them a couple months to fix this issue. Then there was also another bug related to the score, which I personally haven't encountered, but many other people did, and that too was also patched by the developer. Overall, the launch of the game was horrendous, and that alone is not a very good impression, especially when you killed an old game for this one. And the cherry on top is that they announced the end of service for School Idol Festival All-Stars, 2 months after the game's release. Bushiroad effectively killed 2 games in the same year and replaced it with an inferior version. Not exactly a smart way to keep players happy. Apart from technical issues, the game also suffered from low quality assets. I mean, look at these backgrounds, they look terrible. It's like they didn't care. Or how about the live 2D animations in story mode? Until now, this has yet to be addressed. The lip flaps literally do not sync with what the characters are saying. Just look at this.
皆さん、揃いましたね。今日はとても大切なお話があります。何なんかレン先輩、いつもと雰囲気が違うっす。 ついにやってきたのです。あの時期が。
And when you compare it to another game like Bandori, this is how Live 2D should be implemented.
もう一歩も動きたくないわ。お参りなんかしなくてもいいから帰りたい。ほら、もう少しで私たちの番だからファイト。でもさっきのあんこロック、思ったより甘すぎなくて意外と食べれちゃったよね。
Then there's also the lack of 3D backgrounds. A lot of fans, myself included, were anticipating for this. After all, SIF2 is built on a modern engine as opposed to an in-house engine that K-Lab used for the original game, so it's kind of expected that they would have this ready, but they didn't. Then the events are also underwhelming. It's literally copy and paste from the old game with little to no changes. They did try to introduce a new event type back in November, I think it was called Star Challenge, but even then that was underwhelming. The worst part, the game doesn't have a main story. I mean, yeah, there are event stories, but those are so inconsistent and only certain events have them. They replace side stories with this chat system that is completely pointless. Gameplay wise, personally, I don't have a problem with it, and I think that SIF has a unique gameplay style compared to other rhythm games. Other games typically use the same 5-lane setup, while SIF uses the iconic 9 circles. The beat maps on older songs are exactly the same as original, so if you've been playing the games for as long as I did, it would feel right at home. For me, the gameplay is fine, but the lack of content is what really hurts the game the most. Overall, while I don't think SIF2 is a bad game as some people like to point out, it did have quality of life improvements that I appreciate. Things like your LP not being consumed if you quit, restart, or if the game crashes on you, or a 10x multiplier for token events, or skip tickets if you don't have the time and energy to play, rehearsal mode, something that I could have utilized years ago, and the training system is much more simple. However, despite all the nice changes, it's not enough to keep the game going. Compounded with a bad launch, terrible management, and lack of content, the game had no chance in surviving in the long term, especially in the current time where rhythm games have completely saturated this space and Love Live was simply left behind. The question is, are we ever going to see a sequel to SIF2? Well, at this point, I don't think it's happening. With 3 mobile games that have ended service in a span of 1 year, it will be a long while before we get another Love Live rhythm game. For now, the only Love Live rhythm game that is available is School Idol Festival After School Activity, which is exclusive to the PS4. I'm sad and frustrated at the same time. Spent 10 years of my life for the series and it's finally coming to an end. However, I'll never forget the memories that I've experienced in these past 10 years. The friends I made online and offline, the countless hours at home, at school, grinding away at these events just to be on the top. I'll never forget how this game brought me into the world of Love Live. Love Live means a lot to me and I will always be thankful for it. With that said, it's time to say goodbye. For now. Thank you for everything. Sayonara.